What happens when ambition turns into arrogance? When innovation becomes illusion? When a company that promised to change the world ends up destroying lives instead? This is the story of Enron, a name that once stood for power, progress, and profit, until it became the symbol of corporate greed and deception. They called themselves the smartest guys in the room, and for a while, the world believed them. But when the truth came out, those rooms were empty, and the lights had gone out. In the late 1990s, Enron wasn't just a company, it was a movement, a modern miracle of American capitalism, run by men who believed they could outsmart reality itself. But beneath the brilliance was a lie, one that would bring down an empire and shatter the lives of thousands. To understand Enron's fall, you have to understand its rise. The story begins in 1985 with the merger of Houston Natural Gas and Internorth, forming Enron Corporation. At the center was Kenneth Lay, charming, intelligent, and deeply connected in Washington. Lay wasn't just a businessman. He was a believer, a disciple of free market capitalism. At a time when America was falling in love with deregulation, for decades, energy prices were tightly controlled. But when the government loosened its grip, chaos turned into opportunity. Lay saw the future. Energy traded like currency, bought and sold in real time. It was a radical vision, and it worked. Enron was no longer just an energy company. It was a marketplace. By the early 1990s, profits soared, and so did Lay's influence. He became a political favorite, advising presidents and shaping energy policy. He promised that Enron would change the way the world does business. He was right, just not in the way he imagined. In 1990, Lay hired a man who would redefine Enron's identity. Jeffrey Skilling, a Harvard Business School graduate, Skilling was brilliant, confident, and utterly ruthless. He believed capitalism was a game for the smartest, and he planned to win. Under his leadership, Enron transformed. It began trading not just gas and electricity, but anything with a price: weather patterns, bandwidth, even risk itself. Skilling's favorite phrase was asset light. He wanted a company that didn't just move energy, it moved ideas. To support his vision, he introduced mark-to-market accounting, a controversial system that allowed Enron to record potential future profits immediately, the moment a deal was signed. It meant Enron could announce huge earnings, even if those projects hadn't earned a single dollar yet. Wall Street loved it. Every quarter, Enron posted record-breaking profits. Analysts couldn't stop praising them. The stock price kept climbing, and with it, Enron's reputation as America's most innovative company. But behind those glowing numbers, there were cracks no one wanted to see. By the late 1990s, Enron was unstoppable. Its stock price had jumped from $30 to over $90 a share. Employees became millionaires overnight. Inside the company, the culture was fierce. Every quarter, employees were ranked, and the bottom 15% were fired. They called it the rank and yank system. That pressure created something dangerous. To survive, people began bending reality to fit expectations. If profits didn't exist, they invented them. If a project failed, they hid it. In Enron's world, perception was more important than truth. Skilling told employees, "You can't measure success by how much money you make, only by how much the market believes you're worth." And the market believed. Enron became the seventh largest company in America. Its executives hailed as visionaries. They built a 50-story headquarters in Houston, complete with marble floors and glass walls, a symbol of their invincibility. But inside that building, one man was constructing a financial labyrinth that no one could escape. His name was Andy Fastow, Enron's chief financial officer. Brilliant, secretive, and dangerously creative, Fastow's job was to hide Enron's mounting debt and keep the balance sheets clean. And he did it through a maze of special purpose entities, or SPEs. These were shell companies, technically independent but secretly controlled by Enron. They borrowed billions to cover Enron's losses, making the parent company look profitable. It was accounting sorcery, turning debt into profit and illusion into success. But Fastow didn't just manipulate numbers, he manipulated ethics. He personally managed many of these entities, earning millions in side deals. The deeper the hole got, the more lies it took to fill it. And yet the board of directors, blinded by soaring stock prices, approved it all. On paper, Enron looked flawless. In reality, it was collapsing under the weight of its own deceit. In August 2001, one woman finally broke the silence. Sharon Watkins, a vice president at Enron, wrote an anonymous memo to Kenneth Lay, warning him that the company could implode in a wave of accounting scandals. Her words were prophetic. But by then, it was already too late. That same month, Jeff Skilling abruptly resigned, claiming personal reasons. It was the first public sign that something was terribly wrong. Within weeks, the truth began leaking. Enron admitted it had overstated earnings by over $600 million, then by $1 billion, then more. The market panicked, investors fled, banks demanded repayment, and the empire that once symbolized genius began to crumble. Enron filed for bankruptcy, the largest in U.S. history at that time. Over 20,000 employees lost their jobs. Thousands more saw their life savings vanish because their retirement funds were tied to Enron's stock. People who had built their futures on faith in the company were left with nothing. Even the watchdogs were guilty. Arthur Andersen, one of the world's top accounting firms, was caught shredding Enron-related documents. The scandal didn't just destroy Enron, it shattered trust in the entire corporate world. Executives claimed ignorance, but the evidence was clear. They knew. They all knew. What they built wasn't a company. It was a fantasy, one that depended on everyone believing the lie. Justice came slowly. Jeffrey Skilling was sentenced to 24 years in prison. Andrew Fastow received 6. Kenneth Lay died before his sentencing. His empire gone, his legacy in ruins. In the wake of Enron, Congress passed the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002, enforcing stricter corporate transparency and criminal penalties for fraud. But no law could undo the damage. Homes were lost, pensions disappeared, and for millions, the dream of a fair market was replaced by cynicism and doubt. Enron wanted to change the world, and it did, not through innovation, but through devastation. Its story remains a warning that intelligence without integrity is corruption, that success without honesty is failure in disguise. They called themselves the smartest guys in the room, but in the end, the smartest thing they could have done was tell the truth. Because no matter how bright the illusion shines, the truth always turns on the lights.